So now we're going to talk about pruning, maintenance pruning of a mature and established apple tree in this orchard. It has the basic features, as you can see, with the skeleton branches, a short trunk, and then a number of lateral branches. We're going to firstly inspect our work site. There's plenty of room here, it's nice, flat and even, nothing to trip over. Make sure the ground is clear and that you can move around safely. Choose an area where you're going to put your cuttings out of the way where you're working, so to one side. Nice to keep the cuttings all in one place together so you can make sure that you don't cut more than 20% off your tree. The only way you can judge that if you can see your pile and then look back at the tree. So we're going to go work through the tools that we showed you earlier. So if you'd like to come in, I'll demonstrate these tools, and we'll start first of all using secateurs, the hand cutters. So we're looking at removing about 2/3 of this branch. So don't need to measure it, 1/3, 2/3. So this is about where we're going to be cutting. And we're looking for a bud that's growing outwards away from the centre of the tree. We do not want growth going back into the tree. If you remember, we're trying to keep an open, airy crown. So we're looking for buds outside. We identify our bud and we cut just above it at a slight slope. Hold the little branch there, snips off nice and cleanly, put it on your pile, and then what will happen is these buds will then grow and you'll get new growth here. Keeping to that 2/3 removal, leaving 1/3 will reduce the amount you're cutting and allow you to prune a larger part of the tree. That's less than a little finger width inside my glove. You can't see my finger. But when it gets larger than that, we'll be looking at using another tool. And we discussed about using loppers. Again, same process. You're always cutting to a bud. You're looking for a bud that's growing out. We've got a bud here that's going to grow out this way across these branches. We don't want that one, so we're going to work to that one there. And again, using the larger tool, snip through nice and cleanly, leaving a slight little bit of growth above it, and that bud then will shoot and grow out that way. So that's perfect. In case you're wondering what this bit of plastic's for, we did mark the trees that we wanted to work on in our orchard to start with, and that's just a way of me determining which trees to do. So if you've got a large orchard, you may select to do a number of trees each year, mark them beforehand so there can be no mistake. Once you get larger than thumb size, we must stop using the loppers and we need to think about using the cutting tool, the pruning saw. Remember, this saw only cuts in one direction on the draw stroke, so we need to bear that in mind. We're going to do a little cut underneath first of all, again working towards a bud, but a little cut underneath. And then we come up above it to cut, and there's notes explaining about this process. So nice and easy, no rush. The slower you are, the more measured you are, less damage you'll cause to the tree. So nice and clear cut through. And there we go. And again, put that on your pile, not leaving a long stub, fairly clean cut there, and we've got a bud just behind it which can provide future growth. Now if that's you need to move larger branches, which you do occasionally, then this pruning saw is going to be the wrong tool and you'll need to use your bow saw. So here, you can't quite see here, but I've got a bit of a canker growing on here, so I want to remove this piece of branch. So I'm going to use the bow saw for this. So an undercut again. So you're cutting through about 1/3 of the way, 1/4 of the way through first of all, so that the branch doesn't tear. And then we come out above. And you can always tidy this up afterwards. The main thing is to get it off safely. I'm holding the branch I'm cutting off so it doesn't drop. So I'll prune through nice and clean, and that's now removed and come off. And we've got a slightly jagged edge, so what I'm going to do now is to tidy this up. When you're cutting, make sure you keep your thumb out the way. You do not want to be cutting your thumb off, but I can steady this branch. Nice and slow, this saw cuts in both directions. You don't need to put a lot of energy into it. Nice, even, gentle strokes, and there we end up with a much cleaner cut. You do not need to treat cuts on apple trees and pear trees. Other fruit trees you might need to. That will naturally heal over and recover. So they're the basic techniques that you'll use for pruning your tree.